Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi is written and directed by Rian Johnson, and it stars Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Oscar Isaac, Adam Driver, Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, Laura Dern, Benicio del Toro, Domhnall Gleeson, Andy Serkis, so many great actors, and a nice cameo from a certain very, very underrated actor from a certain very, very underrated TV show that I'm not going to spoil for you, but I really enjoyed it. And I'm not going to say anything about, the story or the plot of this film, because I think it is best to go into this film knowing as little as possible. In fact, I stayed away from all the trailers. The only trailer that I saw was the one that they released in April. And after watching the film yesterday, I actually went back and saw the trailer that they released back in October or November. And it does actually contain certain scenes that I think I didn't have to see. They were kind of spoilery. But if you have seen the trailer, it's fine. If you've been avoiding them like I have, then I won't show any clips in this video that I think are spoilery. So you can watch this video completely fine. There's no spoilers, absolutely no spoilers, because you should go into this film knowing as little as possible. And I'm not going to say anything about the story. So I think that the two big questions that people are going to have going into this film is that, number one, is it good? Number two, how does it compare to The Force Awakens? And I'm not going to beat around the bush. The answer to the first question is yes, and the answer to the second question is that it is very, very different from The Force Awakens. There are things about this film that are better than The Force Awakens, and there are things about The Force Awakens that are better than this film. But I'm going to talk about the comparisons to The Force Awakens along with other Star Wars films later on in the video. So how this is going to work is, because this is going to be a pretty long video, but I'm going to keep it pretty vague. I'm going to try and talk as fast as I can because I have a lot to cover, because this film, there's a lot to process. I saw this film last night, and instead of filming the review last night, I decided to film it today because I thought that I needed some time. I needed to give it at least 12 hours to actually for me to process all the stuff that I just took in. Otherwise, I wouldn't really know what to say about the film. So first of all, I'm going to talk about Rian Johnson as a director, as a writer, what he brings to the film, the technical aspects of it. Then I'm going to move on to the characters, the actors. Then I'm going to talk about the other stuff that I want to talk about. And then I'm going to talk about some of the problems I have, because yes, this isn't a perfect film, but then again, what is? So yeah, let's just start off with Rian Johnson, who I think is such a great addition as a director to this saga, and he does such a great job here. His directing is very, very noticeably different from J.J. Abrams, and he has a surprising amount of creative control on this film. I thought it was just going to be like a very sort of Disney film that didn't really take any risks, but this is probably the most ambitious and ballsy Star Wars film I've ever seen. And I think that with any form of ambition, it's going to be quite divisive. People are going to love it and people are going to hate it. And I think that this is a film that is going to divide audiences, and I'll talk about that in just a bit. But overall, I thought that Rian Johnson, both as a writer and a director, absolutely killed it. This film is full of surprises. It is really, really full of surprises, some of which I absolutely loved, some of which I have mixed feelings about. Again, I'll talk about it more later on, and I'll go into detail in the spoiler review, which I will do. But I thought that as a whole, Rian Johnson did such a great job directing this film. I also have to talk about the cinematography. I think that this is the best looking Star Wars film ever. I thought that in terms of visual effects, the CGI, the practical, the blending of the two, just brilliant. But it really is the cinematography that I think steals the show in terms of the technical aspects, because this is, like I said, the most beautiful Star Wars film I've ever seen. Some of the wide shots in this film are, I can already tell, they're going to go down in history as some of the most iconic shots in movie history. These just head-to-toe wide shots of the characters, and it's just so beautiful. And there are many, many, many shots in the movie that die-hard Star Wars fans will shit themselves when they see. And I think that if you've seen the film, then you probably know what I mean. A lot of the moments that I'm going to hint at in this review, I think that you'll know them when you see them, because they're just so great. And I think that Rian Johnson did a really good job in terms of filming the close-ups as well, because of course the wide shots look great, but at the same time, I think that his close-ups, especially in some of the conversation scenes, have a very Alejandro Iñárritu, almost Terrence Malick-esque feel to them. It's really, really different, and I really admire what he did with the close-ups. But yeah, just the camera work overall is incredible. The score by John Williams is really, really good. I would say it's actually better than The Force Awakens. It's very, very subtle. I think that everything in this film is very, very subtle. The visuals, the tone, the atmosphere, the score, just everything about it feels very, very subtle, which makes the moments that are very unsubtle, the big explosive moments, really, really effective and really, really stand out. And that was something I loved about the movie. Just overall, this film, on a technical level, is pretty much flawless. So now I guess we should just talk about the characters and the actors. Daisy Ridley and Adam Driver, who are sort of the two main, Rey and Kylo Ren are the two main characters, the two main focal points of this trilogy. They're brilliant. And I think that Daisy Ridley and Adam Driver are both incredible. I'll talk more about their characters and all the characters in the spoiler review, but I thought their performances were great. John Boyega and Kelly Marie Tran, who's a new actor who plays the character of Rose, I thought they were really good, and I thought that their moments in the third act were some of the best moments in the film. Oscar Isaac as Poe Dameron has so much more to do in this film, and I loved Oscar Isaac. He gave a really, really great performance. The late, great Carrie Fisher, she turns in an excellent last performance, and she has one scene in the film that I think is going to be quite controversial, but personally, I was like, it was a roller coaster of emotions. Again, you'll know it when you see it. I absolutely love the scene, but I've already seen loads of people on the internet saying that they don't really like it, they think it's kind of stupid, but personally, I absolutely love that scene. Again, you'll know it when you see it. Who else is in this movie? Andy Serkis, the great Andy Serkis as Snoke. I thought Snoke was a character that was really good. The first time you see Snoke in this movie, I thought was incredible. After that, I thought Snoke was a bit of a letdown. I didn't really love the direction that they went with the character. I'll talk more about that in the spoiler review, but overall, Andy Serkis gave a good performance, but I just didn't really love where they went with the character. A big surprise to me in this movie was Laura Dern. I didn't think that she was going to be in the movie as much as she was. I didn't think I would like her character as much as I did, and also she has one of the most badass moments in the entire film. Someone I didn't like that much, though, was Benicio del Toro. I love the guy. I think he's a brilliant actor. Obviously, if any one of you guys have seen Sicario, then you know this guy is a talented actor, incredibly talented. But I feel that in this film, he was a little bit too over the top, and his character just kind of felt like a classic movie stereotype, and I just didn't like him that much. I also thought that Captain Phasma, played by the great Gwendolyn Christie, was kind of a bit of a letdown as well. You know who wasn't a letdown, though? Luke Skywalker. Mark fucking Hamill gives the best performance of his career. Luke Skywalker here, I love the direction that they took him in. He's very, very different than I expected, and I absolutely love everything about the character. I thought he was just so damn great. He had some great moments in this film, probably some of the most iconic moments in Star Wars history, and this is, like I said, not only his best performance as Luke Skywalker, but probably his best performance I've ever seen. And that's saying a lot, because Mark Hamill as Joker is like my favorite version of the Joker. But yeah, I mean, Mark Hamill gave such a great performance, and I just love the characters as a whole. And I think that that's one of the things that this film does better than Force Awakens, is that it really, really does explore the characters so well. I also have to say that I think, in my opinion, this film does, in the opening scene alone actually, does a better job of exploring the lives of the smaller characters who aren't as significant as the big Force lightsaber people, or General Leia or whoever. I think this film does a better job of exploring the smaller characters than Rogue One does. And that was kind of what Rogue One was meant to do. It was meant to be a film about, the soldiers, the smaller people who, you don't really get to see. And I think that this film, in the opening scene alone, again, you'll know it when you see it, does a better job of exploring that than Rogue One does. And I guess now I'm going to talk about the action scenes. They are pretty damn incredible. The space battles are filmed in a really, really interesting way. Very, very different to what J.J. Abrams did. And I really, really enjoyed them. But I have to talk about the lightsaber fights. There aren't that many. To be honest, this film doesn't have a ton of action, but when there is action, I think it's just, oh my god, it's so good. The lightsaber fights in this film are filmed in a very different way. Chris Stockman said in his review that it feels like a samurai movie, and maybe Rian Johnson took inspiration from samurai films, because obviously the Jedi are kind of based on samurai. And I think that's very true, because the fight scenes in this film are incredible. And one thing that I really like is that it's not just bam, 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 bam lightsaber fights. They actually, stunt choreographers, Rian Johnson, everyone who worked on this movie, actually, I feel like they looked at lightsaber fights in the past films and they were like, what can we do to be creative? We don't want these like flippy, spinny stuff from the prequels, but we don't just want bam, 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 bam from the classic trilogy. So they actually come up with some really, really creative ways to use a lightsaber, and there's some really, really awesome takedowns that you see in the film, and they're just brilliantly shot and brilliantly performed by all the people who use lightsabers. I just really, really like the lightsaber fight scenes. I wish there was some more, but that's fine. Now, when it comes to some of the issues I have with the movie, I would say that there are a few. Okay, this isn't a perfect movie. I think that the big issue that sort of stuck out to me was that this film is 2.5 hours long. That makes it 15 minutes longer than The Force Awakens. And The Force Awakens, in my review, I said that it was a very, very straightforward film, had a very, very straightforward story, and it was incredibly fast-paced, very energetic, and very exciting. There was never a dull moment in The Force Awakens. Whereas with The Last Jedi, it has a much slower pace, which is actually good because you get to spend time with the characters. But at some points throughout the film, I was thinking to myself, where is this going? What is this building up to? It started to lose focus at some points, and I feel that at sometimes Rian Johnson had to give certain characters certain things to do. Otherwise, they would just be pointless. They wouldn't have anything to do with the movie and they would just be useless. He had to give them something to do. He had to give them a purpose, and sometimes that would detract away from the main focus of the movie. And that is most evident with Finn and Rose's characters. No spoilers again, but in the second act, they go to a certain planet, which is it's too similar to Earth. And that kind of took me out of the experience a bit, and it also felt very similar to the prequels. Yeah, that was the weakest portion of the movie for me. I also think that this movie could have done with one or two more action scenes, especially lightsaber fights. The lightsaber fights are great, I just wish we had more of them. This movie has nowhere near as many action scenes as Force Awakens or Rogue One, and I think that a lot of people, mainstream audiences, will just be like, you know, where are the explosions? Where are the fast cars? Where's The Rock? Where are the Transformers? I want Michael Bay and I want him now. If you're that type of person, this movie isn't for you, because this film is a lot more complex in The Force Awakens. It isn't just entertainment and fun characters and fun story. It is a lot darker, it has more depth to it, and it does explore a lot of themes. So I think that for mainstream audiences who just want to go in and have a great time, you will get that, but not as much as you would The Force Awakens. However, my biggest problem with the film is that there's too much build-up and not enough payoff. A lot of the questions and mysteries that The Force Awakens sets up I'm not, again, no spoilers here, but I just feel like are either answered in a very half-hearted way or not really answered, or just left ambiguous. And it's not just the questions that are asked in The Force Awakens. Many of the set pieces, many of the moments that happen in this film, there's some really great setups and you're just like, oh shit, what's gonna happen? And sometimes it works really well. The payoff is incredible. But sometimes just like, oh, that's it? I mean, come on, guys. Come on, you could do better than this. You know, you have a lot of money. You could do better than this. Yeah, that's my biggest complaint with this movie. A lot of setup, not enough payoff. But on the whole, The Last Jedi is an incredibly ambitious film. It takes the Star Wars saga, the mythos of the series, to the next level. It takes it to new directions that not many people expect. It does a really good job of having callbacks to the previous films while setting up more stories of its own. It has brilliant actors, brilliant directing. It's the best looking Star Wars movie. It has some of the best Star Wars performances, some of the best Star Wars moments. And although it does have problems here and there, it is a film that I'm going to give an A. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Please stay tuned for my spoiler review, which I'm probably going to film like right now after I edit and upload this video, and I'm going to upload that video like later on, because, you know, I'm probably going to upload it on Sunday or on Monday, because that's when, you know, most people see it on the weekends. So most of you guys probably haven't seen this film yet, which is why I'm so vague with this review. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys. Please stay tuned for that review. Thank you.